And although they don't have a body yet, the DA has said that she wouldn't be bringing charges if she wasn't confident in her case. So they obviously have something. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please do subscribe, and if you're old here, hello again. My name's Kate Philpott and I cover true crime cases on my channel. This is my second video I'm putting up today because if you didn't already come from the video that I just put up an hour ago, it was basically 4 cases in one. It was 4 incredibly important missing person cases that need more attention urgently, need more eyes on them. But this video is a whole separate video because there are so many major case updates in several cases that I've covered in the last couple of weeks and months. Some of them are still developing, so there definitely will be more to come, and I'll tell you about the specifics of those in a little bit. But things are really wild in the true crime community right now. Loads is happening. Quick little disclaimer though before I get into the actual updates. I do apologise if any of the information I provide in this video is inaccurate. Any information I provide is just what I found online and merged into the one video. And I of course mean absolutely no disrespect to anybody I speak about, particularly if there are inaccurate details. So let's get into this video. Right. The first update we have is on the Suzanne Morphew case. This is a huge update. And I want to just thank John Ellis for letting me know about this update. Thank you, John. So just to give you a quick overview and refresh your memory, Suzanne Morphew was a gorgeous woman from Colorado. She was very easy to like. Her smile would light up the whole room and everyone just loved Suzanne. And she also had a beautiful family. So she, her husband Barry, and their 2 daughters Mallory and Macy are this picture perfect family, or were. That was until Mother's Day 2020. Last year it was the 10th of May when Suzanne went out on a bike ride allegedly and just never came back. Not long after she disappeared, Barry released a 25-second plea to the public to try and get some kind of information to try and find her, get the word out. And if you saw my original video, which by the way I will have up in the cards, this plea, I couldn't put my finger on what it was that just seemed off to me. At the time I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But after looking at it again with fresh eyes, I put my finger on it. It's the fact that the whole time this guy is shaking his head no. He's saying, "Suzanne, please come home. We miss you so much. We love you." All this stuff. And his head is saying no.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you, and I want you back so bad.
I learned a lot about body language and the psychological influences of it and all this kind of stuff when I was in door-to-door sales. The reason I know about this specific thing is I was trying to make sales and the whole time I was like this, and they caught me out on it and I learned a lot about it. And any body language analysis will tell you that this guy does not believe, for some reason, that his wife can see this video, that his wife would come home. Basically, he didn't even believe a single word he was saying. And I had a really weird feeling about him, and I know a lot of you guys had a very weird, unsettling feeling about him in general. And that leads me to the update. So on the 5th of May 2021, just 5 days before the anniversary of her disappearance, Barry was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He was also charged with tampering with evidence and attempting to influence a public servant. And that last charge is a little bit of a mystery charge because we don't really know what it was that, like, what this exactly means.
Hello there, it is Editing Kate here, and obviously I had a lot of uncertainty around the last charge I just mentioned there, but more information has come out. Not full information, but just a little bit extra. So what we know is he was trying to influence 8 public servants, at least some of whom are law enforcement officers. And what it says online is by means of deceit. And it was in between the time Suzanne disappeared up until the day of his arrest. So that's still quite vague, but that's all we know.
Now, the big thing here is we don't exactly know what led to him being charged. You know, why now? What was the one thing that sent them over the edge and they were like, right, we've got enough to charge him? We don't know. The arrest affidavit has been sealed and it was almost going to be made public there, but then the defense filed a motion for it to be sealed, remain sealed for another 2 weeks. And that brings us right up to the 27th of May, which is also the date that Barry's next due to make an appearance in court. And honestly, from the very beginning, and I think this is probably evident in the way I covered this in my first video on Suzanne Morphew, the investigation has been quite private. The authorities have kept everything pretty tight-lipped. You know, they've kind of been working away, but not really coming out publicly and saying a whole lot. But it's all for the bigger picture. It's all for massive moves in cases like this. They didn't want to corrupt the investigation, and from what I've seen, everything seems to have been done pretty respectfully and pretty well. And although they don't have a body yet, the DA has said that she wouldn't be bringing charges if she wasn't confident in her case. So they obviously have something. And although there is no body, they do have reason to believe that Suzanne is no longer alive. And there's no alleged cause of death because there's no body. But at this point, they do have an idea as to how everything played out and what actually caused whatever happened to Suzanne to happen. So Barry's being held at the Chaffee County Detention Facility, and as soon as he started being questioned, he immediately asked for a lawyer, so all the questioning had to stop. And of course, Barry is innocent until proven guilty. I just want to say that because although we know that the DA is confident and although we suspected him, a lot of us, you know, we still don't have full-on proof, evidence, guilty verdict at this point. So even if you're thinking, oh my god, 100% he did it, there's still a lot we don't know yet. But I mean, they obviously have something good to be able to make a move like this. But what I'll also add is Barry definitely seemed to be a flight risk. He had been getting rid of all his assets. He just sold their family home, which was like $1.5 million, about 2 months ago in March. He had a trailer outside the front of his house. Like, he was just getting rid of as much as he could. Maybe he wanted to live more minimalistically, but maybe he was preparing to get the heck out of Dodge. Also, update since the 5th of May, on Thursday the 13th of May, there were new charges filed against Barry. He committed voter fraud in the presidential election last year. And how he did this, this guy, he went to vote for Trump, and obviously he had this extra voting card or polling card or whatever it's called in the US, you know, an extra one because there was still one that arrived for Suzanne, his missing wife, and he put in an extra vote for Trump as Suzanne. When he was asked why he did this, he said, just because I wanted Trump to win. I just thought, give him another vote. He also said, I know that she was going to vote for Trump anyway, and that he didn't know that it was illegal to do this for your spouse. I think what strikes me about that is just how nonchalant he is about everything. He's like, sure, why not give him another vote? You know, the vote of my missing, likely dead wife, whose, side note, I probably killed. Innocent until proven guilty and everything, but the thing is, people were suspicious of Barry from the word go. And when I say people, I mean, yes, the public, of course, but also even Suzanne's brother David has said that within hours of Suzanne's disappearance, his suspicions started to grow. And Barry and Suzanne were married for 25 years. So they were in each other's lives for that long, and also they were in each other's families' lives, and their families were in each other's lives for that long. There's pictures of them on their wedding day, and obviously at the time it was all lovey-dovey and amazing, but when you know what we know now, that Barry has been charged in her murder, it really makes you see that picture and like the look in his eyes very differently. Let me know if you see that too. Now obviously we've had these charges, but we don't really have a motive. it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. From the outside looking in, they seemed like this picture perfect family. Everything was great. They lived in the mountains basically, and it was beautiful and amazing, and hiking and biking and all that stuff, and loads of money and la da da da. So why did this happen? Now, what I will say is relatives have come out and said that they were having financial issues and that they were absolutely living beyond their means, which definitely could have directly or indirectly caused this to happen. The one thing that gets me though is their daughters. They have stayed pretty private throughout all this, and I absolutely do not blame them. I cannot even imagine what they're going through, but my heart is truly with them right now, because this news is devastating in two ways. On one hand, it shreds any hope that they might have had that Suzanne was still alive, and on the other hand, it strips away the one remaining parent that they had, and for the most horrific reason. So I'm sending them so much strength right now.
Hello, it is Editing Kate here again. Another little update, Barry Morphew is facing even more charges. So he's also been charged with tampering with a body and possessing an illegal short rifle. So this is in addition to all those other charges. So, I mean, goddamn, they got some stuff against this guy.
But listen guys, Barry Morphew is set to make his next court appearance on the 27th of May. So I will keep you updated on that. Probably the best places will be TikTok, Instagram and Twitter, all of which are KatePhilpott_YT. Now let's get into our next case. Okay, so brief overview. Breasia Terrell went missing from Davenport, Iowa last July after staying the night in her half-brother's father's house. And that half-brother's father was called Henry Dinkins, and he is a registered sex offender. I did let you guys know about a major update in March, and that was that Breasia was found, unfortunately no longer alive, but there were still question marks. We had a suspect, but we didn't have any charges. That was kind of that. But now Henry Dinkins has been charged with first-degree homicide and kidnapping. He's currently sitting in prison on unrelated charges, but investigators do believe that he shot Breasia and that it was premeditated. And when I was watching the press conference, one of the investigators was asked if there were any other suspects, and his response was, at this time, Henry Dinkins is the only person charged, which is kind of a vague answer. So someone responded that you suspect, and he said the exact same thing. At this time, Henry Dinkins is the only one charged. So who knows, maybe there's more to this. Maybe someone helped him in either carrying out the crime itself or hiding the body. But back to the updates, much like the Morphew case, they haven't really given us much to go off in terms of why Henry Dinkins has been charged now, or what it was, what the straw on the camel's back was. But it is an ongoing investigation, and of course they need to maintain its integrity in this time. But I'll keep you in the loop on what we know, don't you worry. Again, for that, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, KatePhilpott_YT. Alright, into our next case, which is Linda Stoltzfoos. Or Stoltzfoos or Stoltzfoos. I'm so sorry, I have never been able to pronounce that name. Now, I didn't cover Linda's case on YouTube. I actually did it on a mini series on my IGTV like last summer, I believe. But for an overview of the case, Linda Stoltzfoos was an 18-year-old Amish girl, and on the 21st of June 2020, she went off to church that morning. She volunteered afterwards washing some dishes, and then on her way home, she vanished. Side note, this is literally the exact same day that Donita Wilkerson disappeared, and that was, if you didn't see the first video that I put up today, I literally put it up an hour ago. Donita Wilkerson was one of the cases I covered in that video, but it's such a strange feeling knowing that on the 21st of June 2020, both of these women woke up thinking they were going to have a normal day, and then they just had some likely awful, horrific thing ahead of them that day. But anyway, back to the case. A red car was seen in the area, and on CCTV, a man was seen parking this red car on this street in Lancaster County. He gets out of the car, crosses the street, speaks to a girl matching Linda's description, and this was on her route home, and then the two of them walk together back to the car and get in and drive away. Authorities traced the car to an ex-con who's so smoker, and 2 days after she was last seen, who was acting really suspicious around this abandoned building. in the middle of nowhere, looking into the windows, acting all sketch. And someone saw him acting all sketchy and reported it to the police. But as the police arrived, they kind of just missed him. He was driving off in his red car, which I don't believe at this point that they had the CCTV, but at the very least, several witnesses had come forward to say they'd seen this red car. And on the 10th of July, Linda's stockings and bra were found basically on that property. I believe it was in the field or something behind that abandoned building. And I wasn't aware of this at the time I made my IGTV video on this, but those bra and stockings had Justo's DNA on them. Justo was arrested, but of course was not cooperating with police. And he said he'd never met Linda. At this time, he was charged with felony kidnapping, misdemeanor, and false imprisonment. But in December 2020, these charges were bumped right up to first-degree homicide. And the most recent update, though, is that the body of Linda Stoltzfoos has been found. She was found in a rural area in the eastern part of Lancaster County, and she was wrapped up in a tarp, buried on a railroad property near a business in the town of Gap. And apparently this was very close to where Justo Smoker had worked at the time. And what's really strange though is this is an area that they had searched thoroughly previously. And of course she hadn't been there, but she was there now. So some people believe that she was moved at some point. Maybe he had been keeping track of the authorities' searches. Maybe he'd been really listening into the media and seeing what was going on, and as he kind of thought, oh, they're probably done with this area, I can move her here. Like, could have been something like that, you don't know. Also, according to one of the articles online, Justo was believed to have been at Linda's burial site multiple times. Regardless, Linda was identified from her dental records, and according to the coroner, she was strangled, suffocated, and stabbed in the neck. And this all happened just hours after she disappeared. Although it's good in a way because her loved ones get closure now and they can start to heal, it's also just horrific to hear the extent of what this girl had to go through. It's incredibly sad because this is so final. She will never walk another day on this earth again, and for him to just strip that from her, for what? What was his reason for this? It doesn't make any sense. This girl was a random 18-year-old girl on her way home from church, for crying out loud. And on her way home from church, she was abducted, allegedly at gunpoint, although the details on that are pretty fuzzy. And as far as we know, they didn't know each other. Although they were actually third cousins once removed. But, that definitely doesn't mean that they knew each other. Again, I'll keep you updated on any more updates that come out. But in the meantime, let's move on to our last case update. So the last update I have for you is on the Katie Foulds case. I believe I mentioned her in my Should We Care About Missing People video, and I also did a TikTok on Katie's disappearance. But to refresh your memory, Katie Foulds was the girl from Blackburn in England, but she was last seen in St. Anne's. This is a coastal town, and she was last seen walking towards the sea. And this was on the 10th of February this year. And the update is that unfortunately Katie's body was found. She was found at the docks at Bootle, Merseyside on the 19th of April. Her death is not being treated as suspicious, but it does beg the question of, like, was this accidental? Was this self-inflicted? Like, we don't know, and I don't think that they're really gonna go public with these kind of details because now the family just need to grieve, and it's not really a public safety worry or anything like that, so we may never know. I just wish her family so much love and strength right now, because even though this isn't being treated as suspicious, they still lost Katie, and she was only 22 years old. This girl was way too young for her life to end, and that is absolutely heartbreaking. So lots of case updates for you in this video, all of them in some way very bittersweet, but I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, or for watching any of my videos. I really appreciate it, and I love you so much. Also, a very special thank you to my patrons. You are wonderful human beings. I love you so much. Like I mentioned, as we get more updates on each of these cases, I will be updating you on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, all of which are KatePhilpott_YT. And hey, unrelated to true crime, but as you're seeing this, I've just launched my new brand, More to Life, and my new podcast, the More to Life podcast. So if you're interested in this idea of getting more out of life, becoming your best self, living your dream, or you're just curious and you're like, what is Kate doing? I'll leave all the links below. You can check out the More to Life podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. I also have a YouTube channel for it, so I'll leave that somewhere. And also, if you're interested, all of the social media for that is at More to Life Kate. So TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter is all More to Life Kate. But yeah, like I said, I'll leave any other links and bits and bobs in the description below, because I've got a dream life creation planner, dream life creation guided journal, and a whole bunch of stuff going on. So yeah, fun times. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment down below what your thoughts are, subscribe if you haven't already, notifications if you haven't already. God, I'm giving you a whole list of things to do here. I'm sorry, probably stressing you out. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.